Hey everyone, Felipe here. Welcome to another Terror Saviors GNN review video. This week we're having a completely new Madhead original series being Triumphal Trajectory, and with that it comes with two new characters, Ali and Macbeth. We also have a new Nightmare Lord, which is going to be Mechanical Reincarnations Glaoux Jr. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's GNN news. Like I said before, we do have a new Meta original series, Triumphal Trajectory, which will introduce Ali and Macbeth this week. For Ali and Macbeth, they from starting from March 13th to March 26th, they will be two new characters added to the era of novelty connected drawing machine. This is going to be boxing campione Ali and bloodletting missionary Macbeth. The 6-star Ali will be guaranteed for every 20 draws in the era of novelty connected drawing machine. So Ali will be the bigger jackpot card of these two. And yeah, Carmilla, Vampire Principessa Carmilla, and Explosion Maniac Nobel will be removed and replaced on the 13th of March. Personally, this is kind of funny because Boxing Campione definitely refers to Muhammad Ali, which is the boxing champion in real life. So this is kind of fun to see a card based on that. This is going to be a light Machina, which that's an interesting choice. I thought it might have been a human, but uh, it's been a while since we had a good Machina leader, so this is definitely welcome to the game, in my opinion. Um, for his leader skill, we have the following effect. When the team has only human or Machinas, team attack times 9, HP and recovery times 1.8. By starting runestone movement with a runestone in the 3 columns of the left, team attack increases by 2 times additionally. If all Machinas have 100% feel, this increases to 2.5 times additionally. At the end of each round, feel of Machina increases by 20%. By starting runestone movement from the 3 columns on the right, all runestones touched while moving will be turned into enchanted runes, and damage will be dealt regardless of puzzle shield. By dissolving Machina runestones, team attack increases by 3 times additionally. In my opinion, this is actually a pretty good leader skill. Uh, times 9 team attack as a base is pretty good in the current meta, but not only that, but you do also get ways of increasing your multiplier even further by picking up a runestone from the 3 columns on the left. It is a times 2 multiplier, and by dissolving Machina runestones, that increases by times 3 additionally. And honestly, these two conditions are really easy to hit, which means that you will be able to reach your maximum damage output pretty easily with this team, as long as you can satisfy the conditions. And I'm hoping that his team skill actually has a way of generating Machina runestones because that would make his leader skill more consistent and give you better damage output. Also, if all Machinas in the team have 100% feel, you have a bonus 2.5 instead of a times 2 attack multiplier, which is really good because Machinas always want to be at 100% feel, and yeah, it's a further incentive for you to build up your fuel as fast as you can. So now let's take a look at his team skill because this is also something that will um, basically determine his playstyle and also complement his leader skill. His leader skill by itself is already pretty good, and if there's a Machina leader that allows you to play with only a solo leader to benefit from his leader skill, this is definitely a good ally to play as because the leader skill itself already has a lot going on for it. But yeah, for his team skill, we have the leader is Boxing Campione Ali and has the following team skills: extend roast of movement time regardlessly by 3 seconds. Machinas have an HP basic value increase of 2 times, and humans have an HP basic value increase of 1.5 times. Damage received from burning will be lowered to 1. All runestones also possess 200% the effect of all runestones. When a character runestone is triggered, modify the first 8 runestones touched while moving to become Machina runes. When the character runestone of Boxing Campione Ali is triggered, you get unlimited runestone movement time without dissolving. By dissolving character runestones of Boxing Campione LE, skill cooldown of that Boxing Campione LE -1. When the current HP is full, damage received -40%, and if HP is not full after runestone movement, attack of Ali increases by 3 times. Additionally, if there is a Boxing Campione Ali with only Machinas in the team, when the character runestone of Boxing Campione Ali is triggered, that Boxing Campione Ali will enter a hyper state for 2 rounds. You also get Machina dynamics because, of course, um, Ali is a Machina and all Machinas will have Machina dynamics. But holy crap, okay. This team skill is actually kind of busted. Uh, this is a really good team skill. Um, wow, okay. It definitely complements your leader skill a lot. And here's why. Because you do get a race rune trail, so that allows you to trigger your times 3 team attack from the leader skill with no effort whatsoever because you will always be generating Machina runes. 3 extra seconds of movement time is actually pretty nice. Um, very basic, very normal, but it's a very nice thing to have. HP increase will increase your tankiness as well. Ignore burning, well, kinda. Lowering burning to 1 is basically ignoring burning, also really good effect to have as a passive skill on your team. What I think is really good is that when a character runestone is triggered, right? You modify the first 8 runestones to become Machina runes, and we already covered that, which will help you get a times 3 team attack bonus. But if you always start pulling the runestone from Boxing Campione LE, you get unlimited runestone movement time. And at this point, it's no secret that I think that Time Tunnel is the best skill in the game. And the fact that you can trigger Time Tunnel without having to bring a character specifically for that role is definitely something that is going to be really good for you. And honestly, it's insane to have that. Yeah, so the fact that you can trigger unlimited runestone movement time whenever you want in this team is definitely going to be really good. Keep in mind that for certain enemies that will force you to pull a specific character rune, you may not be able to trigger Time Tunnel because you have to start with Boxing Campione's at least character runestone for that. However, in most cases, you will be able to trigger his character rune and you will be able to benefit from unlimited runestone movement time, and that is absolutely amazing. And not only that, you also get a damage reduction and you also have a times 3 attack bonus if your HP is not full, which honestly it is going to be one of the very few downsides to it, that your HP is being increased by quite a bit from his leader skill, a 1.8 times increase for your team, as well as a 2 times increase for Machinas and a 1.5 increase for humans. Machinas and humans aren't really known to have a good recovery, and yes, you do have a 1.8 times recovery bonus, but given your all your HP multipliers, your HP pool is going to be bigger relatively speaking to your recovery, which means that in I think, and I might be wrong because the card is not out yet, chances are you will struggle a little bit to recover to full HP if, for example, you meet an enemy that brings you to 1 HP, or um, yeah, I think recovering a huge amount of HP at once is going to be a little bit of a struggle for this team, and that can be bad, but it is also good because that allows you to get an extra times 3 attack bonus for Boxing Campione LE. And honestly, yeah, other things that I can nitpick is that there is a lack of shield breaking potential. You don't ignore initial shield, you don't ignore fixed combo shield, you don't ignore stealth, equal combo, number shields, etc. The only one that you do ignore is puzzle shield, but you are giving up a times 2 attack bonus in exchange for breaking puzzle shield. So that is going to be a small trade-off, but the fact that it is built into his actual leader skill makes is going to make him a really good ally as well. But other than that, I do think he doesn't have that much enemy skill counters. He does have a lot of attack multipliers, um, easy easy ways to spin, and defensive options, which makes him really good. But also in terms of utility, a little bit a little bit less useful in that aspect. There's also a nice passive right here, which if you run Ali with only Makinas in the team, by pulling a character runestone, you will not enter fatigue, but instead you will enter hyperstate. And honestly, this is going to be really good if you run a mono Machina team with Ali as your leader, because what that means is that you're going to be able to trigger the unlimited runestone movement time without entering fatigue state, and that is going to be really useful because you can keep pulling Ali's character runestones without any drawbacks. But yeah, in my opinion, this is a really good leader. Honestly, a looks like a pretty powerful Machina leader in my opinion. I guess the only downside too, or one of the other downsides, is that fuel generation is going to be a little bit slower than Lilith. But on the plus side, you do have a passive that gives you 20% fuel every round, which means that at the very least, you're getting your fuel up on round 5. But honestly, you always want to get to 100% as fast as you can, and so this can make it a little bit of a slower play style while you bring up your fuel to 100%. However, I still think it's a nice thing that you can increase your fuel every round because that means, unlike um, what Nobel, which is the last Machina that we got, you don't have to start from zero all the time, and you can actually get going pretty fast. But honestly, I do think it's not a bad thing because Machinas used to be that slow in the beginning, so any form of speeding up is always good in my books. But yeah, overall, I do think he's a pretty good leader, seems pretty fun, and honestly, the unlimited time tunnel blows my mind, and I think it's going to be really powerful. And yeah, it's pretty nice to see a Machina leader because we haven't seen one in a while. So definitely a good addition to the team. Now let's take a look at his active skill. Now that we talked about his leader skill, let's talk about his active skill. This is a CD7 skill, and you have 1 out of 2 skills. So if you don't know, this means that you only have one activation, but you can choose from 2 different effects. So for effect 1, you have fully recover HP, turn the first column into enchanted Machina light runes, the second column into enchanted hard Machina runes. For 1 round, extend Russo movement time to 15 seconds, clear the negative state of electrified, frozen, weakened, lock for recovery runes, and petrified runes touched while moving. Wow, okay. And effect 2, deduct 5% of current HP, turn the fifth column into enchanted hard Machina runes, and turn the sixth column into enchanted light Machina runes. For 1 round, the character has an attack increase of 8 times, and damage will be dealt regardless of initial shield, trio, quartet, and quintet elemental shield. Okay, so I take the back that he doesn't have any utility because he definitely has a lot of utility inbuilt into his kit. And just honestly, as an overview, I think he is going to be an amazing member because he has 2 different effects and both effects are really good. And if you can add him to another team as a member, that team is going to benefit really. Uh, he's going to benefit a lot from these 2 active skills. And here's why. The first one, fully recover HP. And like I was saying, Makinas aren't really known for the recovery, and sometimes they do struggle to get back to full HP. So this allows you to fully recover your HP and also trigger the ability of damage reduction. And not only that, you also clear the effect of Electrify, Frozen, Weakened, Lock for Recovery, and Petrify runes, Touch while moving, which is a lot of different debuffs, which makes it really flexible to bring for different stages because you can counter all these enemy skills with one single active skill. The Runestone Turning is a nice bonus, but I think the main effect is going to be to fully recover your HP and help you clear all those board debuffs. That is, in my opinion, really good. The second effect is also really good. The first part only really applies for a LE team because this is going to be your burst option. Remember how if your HP is not full, LE gets a times 3 attack multiplier. So by deducting 5% of your current HP, you are triggering that times 3 attack multiplier because your HP is not full anymore. Not only that, you get an additional times 8, and your damage will be dealt regardless of initial shield, trio, quartet, and quintet elemental shield. This is going to be an amazing burst option because you get to ignore a lot of shield in the game with a super powerful burst attack from Ali. So honestly, both really solid active skills. My opinion, a really good member to go for. However, keep in mind that during TGS Taiwan Game Show, Madhead did announce a new collaboration coming soon. So in my personal opinion, I would wait until news for that collaboration drop before you decide to pull on this seal or not, because you might want to save diamonds for that. But in my personal opinion, Boxing Campione Ali looks like a pretty decent leader, a really fun playstyle, and has an amazing active skill that will definitely be really helpful for teams in the future. But yeah, we also have bonding skills, um, which honestly, really nice things to have. And normally, I don't really pay attention to bonding skills because they're very minimal and it requires you to pull character rules, and sometimes you don't do that. However, because Ali revolves a lot around pulling character runes, and he also gets a time tunnel from it, these bonding skills will actually come into play more in an Ali team than in other teams in the future. And here's the thing: you have wait, hold up, yeah. So you have here three things. So if you pull a character rule for Boxing Campione Elite, you get extra 2-second runes of movement time and 2 extra combos, as long as you have these 3 characters. And honestly, that's not bad because you are already incentivized to pull at least character rune every round, and you also don't get fatigue state if you run a Monomachina team, which means that these bonding skills are going to be really nice bonuses to have. But yeah, now let's move on to Bloodletting Missionary Macbeth. This is going to be a water god and has the following leader skill. Team attack increases by 8 times. Dragons and gods get an additional times 3 attack bonus and an HP bonus of times 2. Extends the movement time by 2 seconds, and when there is a controlling skill on the enemy, dragons and gods get a skill cooldown reduction of 1 at the end of the round. By dissolving 3 types of runestones, team attack increases by 3 times additionally. Honestly, this leader skill is also pretty decent in terms of multiplier. You get a times 8 attack multiplier base, which is not bad, but it is starting to become the lower end of the meta. However, we do have two very easy conditions to get an additional attack multiplier, which is a times 3 just by having dragons and gods in your team, and a times 3 by dissolving 3 types of runestones, which is honestly really easy to do, in my opinion. Not only that, you also have HP increase, especially for dragons. So if you bring something like Needhog, which has the highest HP of the entire game, you get in times 2 HP on that, which is going to make you super tanky. And when there's a controlling skill on the enemy, skill cooldown -1, which having skill cooldown reduction is always nice because you can activate your active skills faster and have an easier time killing enemies. But it depends on how easy it is going to inflict a controlling skill because most controlling skills are CD6, CD7, CD8. And if there isn't a passive way to inflict controlling skills, then it is going to be a little bit harder for you to play with this team. So let's take a look at the team skill because I'm hoping that there is a way for you to inflict controlling skills without relying on active skills. So for the team skills, we have the following. If the leader is Bloodletting Missionary Macbeth, we have Runestones of members' attributes also possess the effect of each other. Dragon Runestones and God Runestones also possess the effect of each other. Dragons and Gods skill cooldown -4 after entering the stage. Smog will be nullified, and by dissolving 5 or more Runestones, damage will be dealt regardless of Puzzle Shield. And that is a very short team skill, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, the team skill is actually not bad. Runes to Possession, you also have skill cooldown reduction, you ignore Smog, which is very situational and not that common, but definitely nice to have. And by dissolving 5 or more runestones, you ignore Puzzle Shield, which honestly is a very easy condition to hit, especially if you're trying to dissolve 3 types of runestones. The minimum you need for that is 3 combos, and that is already 9 runestones. So being able to break Puzzle Shield with that is going to be super easy. Uh, but yeah, I think in terms of leader potential, he seems a little bit less decked out than Ali, which makes sense because he's only the second jackpot and he's not the 1% jackpot card. Um, but I still think his playstyle is a little bit simple. There's no gimmick. It's just normal spinning. There's no combo increase, there's no guaranteed sky drop, there's no special effect, there's no runestone conversion, there's no shape conditions. Um, it's very simple playstyle. The only difference is that you have good multipliers and that you have skill cooldown reductions of -1 if you have a controlling skill on the enemy. And honestly, yeah, I think he's going to be a very simple leader, and so I think I wouldn't really recommend him because for simple leaders we already have a lot of different leaders, and as such, I don't think if you're looking for a new playstyle or a new team to enjoy, I don't think this one will be as satisfying as something like Una or something like Nulla or something like even Ophiuchus is really good. Eren, Levi, things like that. I think this one's a very simple. His team skill is also very short and not that many perks. You're going to struggle with board debuffs, shield breaking potential, and honestly, once this multiplier becomes obsolete, he is going to fall really fast from the meta. But yeah, in terms of his active skill, hopefully it's something better. It is going to be a CD7 skill, and that looks like a very long active skill, so that looks promising. For one round, enemies attack themselves or each other once. When the character attacks, venom the enemy with a non-attributive damage of 1000 times the character's attack basic value, each round regardless of defense until defeated. For 2 rounds, the character's attack increases by 3 times. Damage will be dealt regardless of fixed combo shield, and by dissolving attributive runestones, the character launches an extra attack of each attribute dissolved. Honestly, I think the active skill is going to be leaps and bounds better than the leader potential of this card. This active skill packs a lot in here, and here's the thing. you're going to be inflicting two controlling skills on the enemy at once. One is going to be the hypnotized or the attack themselves, the charm effect, where they attack themselves or each other once. The second one will be venom, and honestly, this is nice because there's enemies that only take damage if they have certain controlling skills on them. However, newer players might not know this, but in the past, I think 3 or 4 years ago, there was an enemy. There was an enemy in an ultimate stage, I remember, where it required for you to have two or more controlling skills on it in order to deal damage. After that, I haven't seen it, but that required you to bring two different cards with different controlling skills in order to be able to beat that stage, because otherwise the enemy will not take damage. If that enemy skill were to come back again, this would be a one card counter to that enemy skill. And in my opinion, it's actually pretty useful, pretty good, but again, very situational, and you can always get around it by actually bringing two different cards with controlling skills. However, I do think this card has a lot more going for it because typically controlling skills are just that. They give the enemy a status condition, give you a small buff, and things like that, and you don't do much anymore. However, for this one, you are ignoring fixed combo shield, you're getting a times 3 attack bonus for the character, and you're also launching a potential attack, extra attack of one attribute each. And honestly, that is also really good because there is the enemy skill that only allows them to take damage after they've taken hits from every single attribute. And the fact that this card can do that is also going to make it really useful. And in my opinion, this active skill packs a lot of utility into one skill. And so I do think his active skill is way better than his leader potential, and it might be worth considering getting him for the future. But again, same thing with Ali. Madhead announced the Hikaru no Go collaboration during TGS, so I would imagine that now that Attack on Titan finished not too long ago, they might be waiting a couple weeks before they drop the new collaboration, which means that news about it would either come next week or the week after. And by that time, Macbeth will still be available. Same with Elite, they will still be available in the Era Novelty Seal. So I would say save your diamonds until we learn more about the collaboration so you can make a better informed decision on whether you want to save your diamonds or if you want to pull for these cards. I do think both Elite and Macbeth have really good active skills and they will make really good members, but if you're trying to save your resources, I would definitely say wait. Or if you don't have that many resources, I would say for now, save your diamonds. And when we get news of the new collaboration, then you can decide whether you want to pull for these cards or if you want to save them for the collaboration. Keep in mind that these are Matter or original, so they will definitely stay in the game, while collaboration cards are time limited and event exclusive, which might not rerun again in the future. So yeah, so two new cards. Ali is a pretty good leader, and Macbeth not so great leader, but they both have really good active skills. So now let's move on to the Nightmare stage, the Wise Owl's Return, which will introduce Glaoux Jr. as the Nightmare stage lord. But yeah, his we actually have a leader skill going for it, which is team attack times 10, HP and recovery times 1.5. By dissolving 10 or more rune stones, team attack increases by 2 times additionally, and damage dealt to enemies by humans, gods, and machinas will also increase by 2.5 times additionally. Honestly, for a free to play card or like a farmable card, this is a pretty decent leader skill. Granted, it is only multiplier on multiplier. There's no utility, there's no Um, yeah, there's no utility whatsoever in the leader skill. It's just attack multipliers. But it is a very good attack multiplier. Team attack times 10 as a base, really good. Team attack times 2 by dissolving 10 runestones, also really good. And this is not first batch, and this is a very easy condition to hit. And damage dealt to enemies by gods, humans, and machinas, that's a passive skill, and honestly, a really good thing to have because you don't really need to do anything in order to benefit from this 2.5 times the attack bonus. So, yeah, overall, a pretty solid leader skill in terms of damage. However, in terms of game balance and utility and shield breaking potential, not so much. Uh, but maybe that will change with the team skill, which is if there is a mechanical Glaoux in the team, this is a passive skill. Glaoux Jr. acquires two forms, Mechanical Egg and Battle Form. Different effects will be granted when Mechanical Reincarnation is in different forms. During Mechanical Egg, the character's attack will be lowered to 0, and during Battle Mode, the character's attack increases by 1.5 times. Okay, not bad. Both the leader are Glaoux Jr. Oof, okay. After entering the stage, Glaoux Jr. will turn into mechanical eggs. Remember, your attack will be 0. Different effects will be granted when Glaoux Jr. is in different forms. When Glaoux Jr. is in mechanical egg form, your damage received will be reduced by 50%, and upon receiving damage, Glaoux Jr. will turn into battle form. In battle form, your mechanical reincarnation Glaoux Jr. will have an attack increase of 5 times, and remember also an additional 1.5 times increase from your battle form. And after defeating an enemy, he will turn back into mechanical egg form. Interesting. Okay. Also, skill cooldowns of Machinas -6 after entering the stage. Runestone movement time increased by 2 seconds regardlessly. All runestones possess the effect of the runestones of Machinas attributes in the team. By dissolving only one group of runestones in the first batch, fully recover HP. Runestone movement will not be stopped when a tornado is touched, and by dissolving 5 earth or heart runes, damage will be dealt regardless of puzzle shield. If the leader is Silovic with Glaoux Jr. in the team, the first batch to be dropped in the columns below Earth and Dark members will be enchanted runestones of the corresponding members' attributes. Oh, interesting. And you also have Machina Dynamics. Whew, okay. That is a very interesting team skill. The whole mechanical egg and battle form is something that was brought by Laplace, where you get the Phantom form and the True Demon form. Then it was followed by Lilith, which has the Resonance and the Convergence form. Then you also have um, Arthur, or not Arthur, the other Arthur, where you have Excalibur and Rapier form. And now we're having a Glaoux Jr., which has the Mechanical Egg form and Battle form, which honestly is a nice mechanic, in my opinion, for a card to have different forms. And yeah, I think it's interesting. For his team skill, I think these ones right here are very useful. CD -6 after entering the stage, always really nice to have. 2-second extra movement time, also really nice. Orusas possess the effect of Machina attribute in the team, also very common, very useful, and honestly a staple in every good leader nowadays. This one is important. Remember when I said Machinas don't have the best recovery? You also don't have that much recovery boost on your leader skill. So if you're able to just dissolve one group of runestones in the first batch, you can effortlessly recover HP even if you are blocked by enemy skills. And this is, in my opinion, really useful as well. Um, this is why Tsuyo and Silovic uh, also are helped and have easy times against certain enemies is because they can fully recover HP without having to rely on heart runes or relying on the recovery stats. And honestly, that is also very useful. Tornado, Tornado Ignore, very useful, very situational though, since tornadoes don't really appear that often in the game. And Puzzle Shield Ignore, also very useful, but uh, it is locked behind dissolving 5 earth or heart runes, which means that if you have a double drought, it might not be possible for you to break Puzzle Shield. However, overall, I do think his team skill is pretty good, but I do have a small issue is that you're not building fuel that fast. And that's normal for normal machinas. For jackpot machinas, you should have a way to build fuel faster. Glaoux Jr. doesn't really have a way to build fuel efficiently or fast, which is going to make it a little bit more of a slower team. But I think the biggest bottleneck that I see is that when Glaoux Jr. is in mechanical egg form, your attack is lowered to 0, which means that your damage output is significantly lowered until you take damage from an enemy attack. And yes, you have a minus 50% damage reduction, but if the enemy has defense break capabilities, that damage reduction means nothing, and you're stuck with only four, or yeah, you're stuck with only four attacking members, which, while it might not be the end of the world, it might not be super good because your damage output is lowered significantly. And so I personally don't like this mechanic where you have to wait for your enemy to attack you before you can launch your full potential, because it just makes it a little bit slow in my opinion. And what I would personally would have preferred for Glaoux Jr. to be able to choose when to enter battle mode or mechanical egg form, because like you I personally think that I would want to have it on battle mode all the time because of the times 5 attack bonus and the times 1.5 attack bonus from his other leader skill. But if you defeat an enemy, you go back to mechanical egg, which means that you have to wait for another attack before entering battle mode. And then after you kill another one, you have to wait again, and your damage output is gonna suffer. And so if you're dealing with something like a 20 round transmigration, this is going to increase your clear time by so much and make it so much slower that honestly I don't really feel great about it. But that is just my personal opinion. But yeah, so I think overall a very solid damage output leader skill, a pretty solid team skill, but you do have to rely on your members' active skills in order to deal with more annoying shields. Even though you can ignore puzzle, you don't really ignore the other ones. Now, for his active skill, we also have a 2 effect active skill at CD7. The first effect is all Glaoux Jr. will turn into mechanical eggs. CD of all enemies will be delayed by 1 round. Restore all runestones to normal state. Explode all runestones to generate earth and heart runes of fixed numbers and fixed position, and modify heart runes to become protected runes. For the second effect, we have all mechanical reincarnation Glaoux Jr. will turn into battle form. If the leader is Silovic or Glaoux Jr., restore all cracked positions. Turn all runestones to enchanted machinas runes, enchanted earth and heart machina runes of fixed numbers and fixed positions, and for 1 round, humans and machinas attack increase by 2.2. Wow, okay. This first effect is honestly not that great, and here's why. You turn all your Glaoux Jr. into mechanical eggs, and remember this lowers your attack to 0 until you receive damage from an enemy. But you're also delaying your enemy by 1 round. Do you see the problem here? You need to take damage from an enemy in order to go back to battle form. But now you're delaying them for one extra round, which means you're stuck on mechanical egg form for one extra round. This does mean, however, you have an extra turn to deal more damage with your remaining 4 members in the team. But honestly, I think I'd rather have something else. But yeah, restoring all runestones to normal state is definitely really good, and this will help you clear a lot of board debuffs, or all board debuffs potentially. Explode all runestones, and one of the weaknesses of refreshing the board was you lose protected runes, which allowed some enemies to avoid taking damage. But Glaoux Jr. does generate protected runes, which makes that enemy skill uh, useless and you're able to counter it. So honestly, this is a very good active skill in terms of refreshing the board and generating protected runes and delaying enemies. I think the fact that it turns you into mechanical egg is actually not that great for a Glaoux team. However, if you put this in another Machina team, for example, Ali, this one could potentially be a good member card because even if your attack is 0, this is just for one member instead of both your leader and ally, which means that the rest of your team can still benefit and make up for that lack of attack. So honestly, not a bad active skill, still pretty useful in different teams, but the mechanical egg form will definitely hurt if you're running a Glaoux Junior uh, team. For the second one, I do think this is going to be the better active skill. You enter battle form, which is going to be amazing because that allows you to enter battle form at will and launch the more powerful attack without having to wait for the enemy to attack you first. Not only that, you also restore crack positions if you're running Glaoux as a leader or Silovic as a leader. Also, you generate a fixed board, and your human and machina attack increases by 2.2 additionally. So this is a very good active skill for a Glaoux team because that allows you to launch more powerful attacks at will without having to wait for the enemy to attack you. But most importantly, in my opinion, this is going to be an absolutely great member for Silovic. You already have a team skill that runs with Silovic, but this active skill is tailor-made to make Silovic better. One of the weaknesses for Silovic, if you haven't played him, is that his playstyle revolves around guaranteed skydrop, and cracked runes can sometimes mess you up and make you a little bit struggle a little bit. So the fact that you can restore all cracked positions with Glaoux Jr. already makes him a really good option for a Silovic team. This one, the Ruslan turning and battle form doesn't really matter. I think the main thing is going to be the crack position restoring and the bonus 2.2 attack bonus here, which is also always very welcome. But yeah, in my opinion, a very nice card to have. Not super necessary, so depending on how hard the stage is, you may not need to fully farm him. You may just need to get one copy and leave him in your inventory for a bit and see if you really need him or not in the future. But yeah, so I do think as a leader, uh, you know, typically free to play leaders are only good for like a week or two. So even though he has a really good multiplier and a semi decent team skill, I don't think people will be running him as a leader too often. And but that's just my opinion. However, his active skills are pretty decent. The first effect, not so much. The second one is pretty good in terms of offensive skills. This one's a good defensive, and this is a good offensive skill. Last but not least, we have Girls' Day Trivia Quiz, which will give you good rewards. So definitely um, make sure you participate on that so you can claim the rewards from the Girls' Day event shop. Uh, But yeah, that's going to be all for this GNN. So just to recap, we have two new characters and a new series for a Madhead original, which is Triumphal Trajectory. The two new characters are Boxing Campione Ali, which honestly has a very interesting leader skill and a very decent leader potential, in my opinion. I think his playstyle is going to be really fun, and most importantly, he has a on-demand unlimited runestone movement ability just by pulling his character rune, which I think is going to be very fun to play and definitely worth getting him if you have the spare resources to get him. His active skills are both really good, even though you can only choose one effect at a time. They both complement his playstyle uh, and are very future proof because they're also very good for future Machina teams as well. In terms of Bloodletting Missionary Macbeth, his leader skill is not bad, it's very simple, but I do think that simplicity is his downfall because there's no gimmick, there's no fun playstyle involved, which means that honestly, as a leader, I personally wouldn't use him as much. However, his active skill is definitely going to be very useful, albeit very situationally useful, but in my opinion, definitely worth having in your inventory just in case. But again, because, and just to recap, because there is a collaboration event coming up soon, I will definitely wait until we get more information about it before deciding to spend resources on both Ali and Macbeth. We also have a new Nightmare stage, which is going to feature Glaoux Jr., which has a very interesting, well, not interesting, but a decent, above average leader skill and a leader potential. However, again, because free to play cards are not designed to be long term leaders, I don't think he is going to remain a good leader for a while. And his active skill CD7, two effects, in my opinion, not bad. If anything, they're actually above average. The first one's a very good defensive skill, and the second one is a very good offensive skill. However, if we're talking about Silovic, if you have if you were lucky enough to get the black gold card Silovic, then this second effect is going to be very good for a Silovic team. But yeah, my opinion, Glaoux Jr. is not a must get card, but because he is in theory a free to play card, as long as you can clear the nightmare stage, then might as well just get him in your inventory and definitely have him because he is useful. He definitely has his uses, and in my opinion, definitely worth having in your inventory just in case. And last but not least, we have the another part of the Girls' Day event, which is going to be the trivia quiz. So don't miss out on the chance of getting more Hishi rice cakes, sweet rice crackers, clam chowders, wagashi, and different rewards so you can clean out the event shop. And yeah, that is going to be the end of this week's GNN review. Please let me know in the comments if I said anything wrong or if I missed out on anything important. As always, stay tuned on my YouTube channel for more Towers Abuse content. But for now, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone!
在漩涡之塔相遇，召唤出惊喜。